Designing fun and interesting platforming elements can be challenging. There's a lot of different platformers out there all with their unique ideas, so it can be very overwhelming to start designing a new platformer with a sheer amount of possibilities. That's why I want to narrow down the options as much as possible and focus on one very solid foundation to expand from. In my game, it's all about using the whip. So far the player can pull objects towards them, pull themselves into objects, swing from objects, reel and wall jump. There are also other platforms such as trampolines, moving platforms, falling platforms and such to create more variety to the levels. While that might sound like a lot, I think of them as very basic stuff that don't really utilize the whip to its full potential. I still want something more interesting in order to make the levels more fun. That's still something I need to work on more. I'm not a master at game design, but I've made a couple of games before. That's why I want to follow a more user-centric approach to the game design where I could present ideas that I have, listen to the feedback, make decisions based on it, and then iterate, until we have a good enough solution. I don't want to make any kind of assumptions on what could be fun to have in a platformer, I just want to listen to the players. I'm getting help from a good friend of mine, Joona, aka ZoneVD, with the level design because he's more of a platformer enthusiast than me, and he has also done some speedrunning in the past, so he knows a lot more about these things than me. Now, he is quite busy this year, but he'll help me as much as he can. I'm still mostly doing everything by myself, but he's been a huge help with a lot of things so far, so thanks for that. The game is split into different chapters. Each chapter consists of multiple different level areas, which have their own puzzles in them. I want every chapter to introduce a new game mechanic, which will be focused heavily during that chapter. Which means that every chapter has to start with a tutorial. I'm a big fan of letting the player have total control of the game and teaching the game through gameplay. I don't want any kind of UI to tell the player how things are supposed to be done, unless there's absolutely no other way to present the thing. I want the game to feel intuitive to play without much interruption. That's why I think it's an important task to teach the player the mechanics in ways that don't even feel like tutorials. There's a lot of material on the topic, such as breakdowns of the first Super Mario level there is, which is a perfect example of a tutorial built into the game. You should definitely check it out if you're interested. Obviously challenges should increase throughout the game, but there should also be moments of rest for the player. The chapter should introduce a new mechanic, teach it, then challenge the player a bit more, and then mix the new mechanic with the old ones. So as a player you would have to adapt the new mechanics with the other mechanics you already know. That way we hit these kinds of peaks of intensity at the end of each chapter, but when we are introduced to a new chapter, the challenge drops a bit, just so you have time to learn new things and also rest for a bit. I researched about game design a lot at the beginning of this project, and one game was constantly being mentioned in pretty much every platform-related topic. And that game was Celeste. I hadn't played the game before, but I had to try it after seeing it everywhere. And let me tell you, I fell in love with the game. I just think it's a perfect platformer, to be honest. It tells a lot when someone who isn't even a big fan of platformers enjoys it that much. Now don't get me wrong, I still like platformers, but I'm more of a strategy game person myself. So after playing Celeste, it has influenced this game a lot, and even some of the movement matches a lot with my game, such as the low jump height, because if I focus on using the whip as the core element of movement, I have to restrict the movement somehow, such as the jump height being low. Otherwise you wouldn't even need a whip to begin with. For the same reason I won't have a double jump either, at least for now. Since the game is a tight platformer, I don't want a lot of fighting in the game. I like to focus more on making the movement as fun as possible and create the levels to be more of a puzzle than an action platformer. You know, pull that thing there, which then helps me get there, but I'll have to be fast in order to reach this, you get the point. If I want to create enemies in the game, I'd rather have them be more like obstacles than something to fight against, but that's still something I have to experiment a bit more with. There could be boss battles after each chapter, but they will probably act more with the surroundings to challenge the player with platforming elements. While my level generator allows me to make Metroidvania style maps, and they're very cool to make, I still don't want to go with the Metroidvania style, because I've always run into the same issue when trying to play a Metroidvania game, which is the backtracking. I know there's a lot of fun element in finding the right tool to get through another door, but a lot of the times I just find myself to be bored running around aimlessly just to find some hidden but mandatory path which finally gives me a key for the door. And now I'll have to run back to the place I was before, fight the same enemies I've fought 1,000 times, and finally reach the other section of the map. That's why I want to reduce backtracking to the minimum. I've thought about adding collectibles to the game. I would want to reward the player for exploring the map and completing more challenging areas of the chapter, but I haven't really decided how to actually reward the player, so that it would actually be worthwhile to do so. Celeste has these B and C sides and all other kinds of stuff that you can unlock that provide more challenging levels to pass, and I really like that idea, but I also have to stay very realistic about the amount of content that I can make by myself. And that's something to think about in the future, but at the moment I'll have to focus more on making the vertical slice first. After that, I could actually analyze how long it would take for me to make extra content for the game. Now, that was a lot of rambling about the ideas I've had on game design. If there's something you would like me to go more in depth about, please leave a comment and I'll try and answer it the best way I can, or maybe make a video about it. There's only so much you can put into one video, really. So to help with the feedback, I might start a Discord channel sometime in the future. I'll make sure you get notified when it's up though. Anyways, thanks for watching, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see you later. Bye!